Welcome to Monash's new Connections for Change program. It's great that you can join us from around the globe. This is part of our new series in which we're bringing you some of our global alumni elite who'll be sharing their tips and stories to help everybody deal with this coronavirus pandemic a little bit better. My name is Larissa Debetsky, and it's my great pleasure today to bring you Michelle Garnaut. Michelle is the founder and CEO of the M Restaurant Group, which is based in Shanghai. Michelle, how are you?
Oh, good. Can you see me? Hello.
Can you tell us a little bit, first of all, about your business and how things have been since this pandemic changed the way the world operates in February?
I started a restaurant in Hong Kong in the late 80s and then in Shanghai in the late 90s, and we're still there in Shanghai. So I'm in the restaurant business, but I do a few other things as well. We run a literary festival, which sadly we haven't been able to do this year. And we are sort of very, very involved in the community. Yes, the coronavirus. Well, we have been through SARS, so we did have some experience of what this is like. And in many ways, SARS was even more scary in many ways because it was the first of those sort of pandemics. Well, it was an epidemic. It wasn't a pandemic because it wasn't global, but it was all very unknown. So, so we had that sort of experience of fear. We at least know how this is transmitted and, whether you agree with the extreme measures that have been taken or not, they have been taken. So I think now many people are really concerned with an economic fallout. And I can tell you in China, we are also concerned with an economic fallout. As many of those listening will know, China's GDP dropped 6.8%, which is in the first quarter of 2020, which is the first drop since 1976. So it's pretty dramatic. How it affected us, we anyway close at Chinese New Year. So it was the pandemic, or the epidemic at that time was announced, and the lockdown in Wuhan was announced on the about the 21st or something like that. And then it was about the 23rd when it went into effect. We were closing anyway on the 24th, but we could already see that things were much quieter. And there was on the street, people knew that there was something going on. But actually, interestingly, I mean, I can speak for Shanghai, even though I wasn't there because I saw photographs the whole time. Really, all of China pretty much closed down. Really, the whole country closed down. And I think that wasn't really clear to other people because it was all centered around Wuhan, which, of course, and the building of hospitals. And I was in Australia, so interestingly, I felt a bit like a Mormon missionary. No offense to Mormons, but they're very good at being missionaries. Really, I was sort of saying to people, you have to take this seriously, and nobody was. So it was extremely frustrating because you could see what was happening. And once it started happening in Italy and other places, like, this is going to happen. Unless you know how to contain it, it is going to go crazy.
So for your own business, how severely has it impacted on?
Normally, February was just lost to the gods. March was pretty dreadful. April it's beginning to come back to life. Excuse me. There's signs of life, but people are still nervous about going out. And I suppose this is what, somebody who's in the middle of it, what people would like to know. You can see changing patterns. Of course, everybody's gone crazy online, and Zoom shares have zoomed, and but yeah, I think what you can find. I think what's happening now, and I'm in Hong Kong, which has not actually gone into total lockdown at all, and it's very, very much under control. And Hong Kong is a crowded place. It is impossible in a lift that is 1.5 square meters to be 2 meters from anybody. And even if there's 2 other people in the lift, you can't be that far away. But you know what? Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. I was going to say, oh yes, what's happening now is that people are going out. They're going back to work. The government workers in Hong Kong are still not back. But people are not really going out at night so much. And I think somehow there's a really deep instinct in us to sort of like not trust the dark, you know. So that's what we've found. People are going out during the day, and if the weather's nice, they're out and, you know, enjoying the sunshine. We have a big terrace in Shanghai, and we're lucky that the weather has been pretty nice. So, you know, that is...
for Australians. China is ahead of the curve from us, so they're listening there that this is what we can expect when we start to relax our social restrictions somewhat.
I think that social restrictions will come. I mean, they won't just be gone and like it doesn't go back to normal tomorrow, but, you know, you get used to, and, you know, sort of. And I have a friend who came over last night and he was, you know, sort of bowing and, you know, everybody in Hong Kong and everybody kisses everybody, but not anymore. So, you know, I think things change and business, I mean, some businesses are booming. And if you're in the right business, you know, or if you're in a business that can take advantage of online, I mean, obviously online sales are skyrocketing. I saw in China that beauty treatments and dental treatments had gone up 3,000% in the first 2 weeks of April, I think, once bookings started. But lipstick sales are down. Makeup, eyeshadow has gone up in sales, but lipstick sales have gone down because everybody wears masks. I mean, I put lipstick on now for the first time because you wear a mask, and actually in Hong Kong and in China, you wear a mask all the time. Yeah. But that's we're sort of used to that. We you know, we don't really mind. We don't stand out like a sore thumb wearing a mask. You do if you don't wear one, actually. Taxi driver told me off the other day. He said, "Why haven't you got your mask on?" I was like, "Oh my God, I forgot. Sorry."
So I think that the word du jour is pivot. Did you, when in the time that your restaurant was closed, did you think of pivoting your business in any way, or were you confident that things would return to semi-normal as quickly as possible?
Our experience in the past was that once SARS was sort of, you know, under control, you know, life just like sprung back. But I don't think that's going to happen because there's been such a large economic fallout, you know, in this worldwide. I mean, look at the unemployment figures, you know, in especially, you know, advanced countries. I think that we had to think of other things to do. So, you know, your marketing, you've got to be on board that people don't forget about you. So actually we've done a lot of work on just, you know, marketing and new ideas. People want new things. We did some promos. And interestingly, and I'll mention this for people in business, when we opened again, we did champagne and caviar for 10 RMB. So a glass of Taittinger champagne, I mean, the cost of it's probably about 50 RMB, and the caviar canapé for 10 RMB. And it didn't really have any impact. And I realized after a couple of weeks, we opened again on the 11th of February. So we were closed for about 3 weeks, nearly 3 weeks. I realized that it was the wrong thing on the wrong time. And what we had to do was concentrate more on a basic product and healthy and value for money. And it wasn't time to celebrate. I think maybe next month we'll bring back the champagne and caviar thing because so now then I took that away. I just let that run down. And then we put in, we took prices. So we did a campaign of 2020, let's rewind 2020 back to 2010 prices. So we actually put our brunch menu on, which is very popular. And we're running that whole week rather than just on the weekend because, you know, many people are not fully back at work. So even in China, many people are not fully back at work. So, you know, we came up with a different, different promotion sort of things. And I think we're having to do that. We're working at the moment on delivery, which we've never done. I mean, the idea of like delivered food, but we don't have a choice. Yeah. You know, and really from a business point of view, you really have to do everything in business you can to keep some income coming in. That will be the same for many businesses.
do you see the delivery as something that is likely to be a part of your business for the ongoing future? I think a lot of restaurants have realised that they can keep money coming in by doing that.
Yes. I mean, I know in Australia restaurants are stuck to dealing with delivery. At least we're open and we've got some income. But people are also stuck and they can't really go out and have, they can't even go out for brunch. So I think there's a real demand for delivery at the moment. I think it depends how big your kitchen is and how much it impacts when things come back to a sort of more normal time and you hopefully have a restaurant full of people. Can you really manage to be also interrupting the flow of orders, for packaging and that sort of thing? Yeah. So I think what it does right now is keep brand awareness up, and that's what everybody's doing.
Absolutely.
Everybody's trying to figure out how to keep up your brand awareness, whether you're Monash University or M Restaurants or no matter who you are, you really have to make sure people don't forget you and you haven't fallen by the wayside. So I feel that the basic principles of business, which is never spend any money you don't need to spend, and especially in a time of pulling things in, you don't need to spend anything. You certainly don't need to be renovating or doing unnecessary, spending money unnecessarily. So really clamping down on the budget. And it was interesting. I'll just divert for a minute. When in 2003, I was in Hong Kong and I couldn't go. There was quarantine in China. And also there's still quarantine. I mean, China, I'm in Hong Kong at the moment because the borders to China are closed. I'm not a national and I'm not a diplomat, so therefore I can't get in. And it was I could have gone in 2003, but the problem was that I had to go into quarantine for, I think it was 7 days at the time. I think SARS was much faster in its, in its transmission. And so I didn't go. I was in Hong Kong and really controlled the cost, immediately went in, cut things, slashed things, made decisions. And we were doing that on the phone. And, there wasn't even video calling then. In 2003, it was, basically mobile telephones. It was really a bit of text messaging, but I think we still had to press all those little numbers. So we were doing it on the phone, and I remember getting the reports at the end of the month. And they'd just not done anything really sensible. Like they hadn't cut back on costs. No one had really worried about it because they sort of weren't really worried about it. And there was money and it was like, things are all right, even though things were terrible. Yeah. So I think that it's that idea. I mean, it seems to me a no-brainer that that's what you do, but it's not a no-brainer to everybody, which is why I mention it. Do not spend one penny you do not need to spend. I'm now authorizing every single payment, practically per stem of flour that's going into the restaurant. Mm. So I think that's really important. I think also you need to, whatever money you need to spend to keep your brand awareness there is really important. And basic good principles of business. Good businesses have a bit of cash flow. They have a bit of a buffer. Mm. So you need a bit of a buffer and also understand, I know I'm giving you some advice on this, but I think this is sort of useful advice. And, I've been through difficulties of business too. I had a business in Beijing that was a nightmare. It was 10 years of nightmare. But I think until you look at the worst case scenario and you go to the end and you look at it and think, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? Honestly, once you look at the worst thing that can happen, it's like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? Mm. And then in some ways I find it's much easier to deal with. And of course, that's a hard thing to do because you have to really look at everything critically rather than stick your head in the sand and think, it'll be okay in a month. When I can come up for air because, maybe you can't come up for air. And the last thing in business you want is for a business to, have to close or that sort of thing, which, there are many businesses closing right now, but also to keep putting money in when it's only got a limited lifespan. And that's the hardest decision to make. Yeah. When do you sort of pull the plug? Yeah. And people do it too late.
Well, thank you, Michelle, for sharing some fabulous insights from my home office to yours to Brave New World.
Yeah.
But I'm sure many of our alumni have fond memories of M Restaurant on the Bund from some exemplary dinners held by the Vice-Chancellor.
Yeah, I also want to say I think there are tons of opportunities for young people in this. And I know some young people are feeling very despondent, but others are not. There are tons of opportunities. And actually, it's a fantastic opportunity to get rid of a whole lot of old crap that we've all put up with in the world. You know, I think it's really, really a good opportunity to sort of be looking especially at renewable energy. You know, there's links now between pollution. If you're in a city that's badly polluted, you've got a much lower chance of survival. So it's like, come on, guys, you know, the planet's telling us something. So I think for young people, there's plenty of opportunities.
Yeah.
Open your eyes. Be brave.
Time for a fresh start. Thank you, Michelle. They're great words to finish on.
Thank you, Larissa. Thanks.